Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this adorable miniature bee keyring. I will be showing you how to do the keyring modification, but if you don't want to use a keyring, you don't have to. This is a completely no-sew bee, so you need your darning needle to weave your ends in, but you do not need to sew the wings on. They are crocheted directly onto the bee. The kit for this can be purchased from my Etsy, and the pattern is available on Ravelry for just £1 if you'd like the written pattern. It's also available in the kit, of course. Let's get going. You will need a colour for the main body of your yarn, a primary colour, a colour for the stripes, a secondary colour, and a colour for the wings. I'm going to be using this lemon yellow and this white for the body and white for the wings. You will also need a darning needle, a 5mm crochet hook, 2 safety eyes and backs, and an optional keyring if you would like to turn him into a keyring. So to start with, we're going to make a magic ring. So hold your yarn between your thumb and your forefinger, wrap the yarn around in an X shape like this. I tend to hold my yarn with my pinky. Now I'm going to insert my hook under that first, the top line that's furthest away from me. I'm going to hook the bottom one and pull it up. Then I'm going to twist my hook towards me and I should get a little loop on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over with the yarn that I'm holding and pull through that loop. This is my magic ring. I like to pull my tail out, and I also at this point like to make this ring a little bit smaller by pulling on that end. Not all the way, just a little bit. Now I'm going to put 6 double crochet into my magic ring. So I'm going to insert my hook into the emptiest part of the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on my hook. That is 1 double crochet. I'm going to do this 5 more times. So I have 6. That's 2. That's 3. 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to pull this tight to close my ring. For round 2, I'm going to put an increase in every single one of these 6 stitches. So that's going to be a total of 6 increases to make 12 stitches overall. An increase is just 2 double crochet in 1 stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook in this first stitch here. I might need to use my nail to help me get that on the hook. Everything's a bit slippery when you're using metal hooks. There we go. Okay, I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through. I'm going to do that again in that same stitch. And that's my first increase. I'll do this again. Again, you're looking for this little hole here where you've already made 1 stitch. That's the way you're going to put your second stitch. So that's 2 increases. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5, and then last one. That's 6. At this point, I am going to single crochet. At this point, I'm going to double crochet in every stitch around. I should have 12 stitches. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and last one, 12. I'm not going to close this stitch off because at this point I'm going to change my colour to white. So for the first change, on the part where I need to yarn over and pull through, I'm actually going to change to the white colour here. So I'm going to hold both the ends, I'm going to pull through those loops there. And now I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to drop my yellow yarn, I don't need it for now, we're going to come back to that later. I'm going to hold that small white tail and I'm going to hold it while I crochet 11 more double crochets around. So I'm going to hold that tail to keep that locked in. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point you can let it get tucked into the middle. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, grabbing my yellow yarn again that I used before and dropping the white. I'm going to chain 1 and now I'm going to do a round of 12 double crochets with the yellow. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to slip stitch into my next stitch. I've managed to increase somehow, that doesn't matter. Slip stitch into my next stitch and then I'm going to chain 1 with the white. Now these colour changes are at the bottom, so we're not going to be able to see them anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to do another round of white, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I need to do another slip stitch. I'm going to do one more round of yellow. At this point, I actually am not going to need the white anymore. So after I've chained 1, I'm going to go ahead and cut the white yarn, giving it a short-ish tail, and I'm going to crochet over that tail now. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I'm just going to do a slip stitch to close off this round. Okay, so as we can see, my colour changes work every other row. This doesn't affect it from the top. From the top it looks nice and neat, but it just means that, you know, we have a clear part down the middle. There are lots of different ways of colour changing where you don't see that part, but for the purpose of this being a beginner kit, we're not going to worry about that too much. So now I need to do my round of decrease. So I've done a round of yellow, and that would be my last round on here. Now I'm going to do a round of decreases. I'm going to do an invisible decrease for this, but you can just double crochet 2 together, and I will show you what both of those look like. So the invisible decrease is perhaps a little bit more difficult. You need to insert your hook into the front loop only of the stitch nearest to you, and then into the front loop only of the stitch next. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. You yarn over, you pull through 2, and then you yarn over and you pull through 2. That gives you an invisible decrease. It just looks like 1 stitch. If you single crochet, or sorry, if you double crochet 2 together, you insert your hook under either the front loop only or the whole stitch, you pull up a loop, and then under the next one, pull up a loop, and then you pull through all 3, like so. There's not much difference. I just prefer, for the small plushes, I just prefer to do an invisible decrease because I find it ends up with less holes. So I'm going to do 6 decreases, however you'd like to do them around. So this is my 4th. That's my 5th. And then I had 1 more to do. We're decreasing until we have 6 stitches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7. I'm going to do 1 more decrease. Okay, so at this point our bee is nearly finished. We're going to put the eyes in now. So making sure you have that sort of seam at the bottom. I'm going to hold it face on, grab your safety eyes. You can use whatever size you want. I'm choosing to use smaller ones today than what come in my kits, just because I feel like it. So I'm going to put my safety eyes in. I'm probably going to put them about here and here. If you don't want to use safety eyes, you absolutely don't have to. I think that looks about even. If you don't want to use safety eyes, you can just embroider the eyes in, and there should be a tutorial for that coming up soon on my channel. So I'm just going to put the safety eyes and backs on. For putting the backs on, it really is just brute force. You can get little tools that can help you, but I believe you have to get them made for you. They're not very widely available at the moment. So once my eyes are on, I'm going to need to stuff my bee. You can use yarn scraps or you can use toy stuffing. I'm going to be using toy stuffing to stuff this bee, but yarn scraps work just as well. Okay, so I've stuffed my bee. He's quite squishy. I like them to be quite squishy. And at this point, I'm going to cut my yellow yarn. I'm going to leave quite a bit of a tail. And then I've just pulled that loop that I had on my hook. I just pulled it quite loose just by pulling the hook back, and I'm going to pull that all the way through till I'm left with this. Now we're going to close him up using our darning needle. If you're adding a keyring, you can add the keyring at this point, or you can add him in a minute. I'm going to add my keyring in a minute. So I'm going to thread my darning needle with this end, like so. I'm then going to essentially invisible decrease through. So I'm going to insert my needle under the front loop of the next stitch and under the front loop of the following stitch and pull through. This is going to sort of cinch in the end of my product. So see this hole here? That's where I had my decrease that wasn't invisible. So that is going to show through in this make, but it's okay if it's a little holy. It gives it a bit of character. And remember, your makes are never supposed to be perfect because it's handmade. So you should only need to do 3, and then you should be left with your bee. you can squish him a little bit and sort him out. I'm going to leave this out to sew my keyring on in a minute, but if you are finished, put your needle through a hole, pull your yarn through, and then cut it close to the body. So at this point we're going to do the wings. So to do this, grab your colour of your wings. I'm using white, and you want your crochet hook. So you need to have a look at where you want your wings to position. We're going to do it on this row of yellow. I am going to put my wings, I think I'm going to put my wings sort of where the eyes are, maybe a little bit closer to the middle. So I'm going to take this middle stitch, which is right in the middle of my eyes, and I'm going to make a wing either side of this one. You can place the wings sort of wherever you like. If you're using the bigger safety eyes, you might have a stitch in the middle that's free, and then you can put the wings on the stitch either side. But I don't really have a central stitch at the moment, which is absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook from front to back through the stitch where I want my first wing to go. I'm going to make a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, take the yarn between your thumb and your forefinger, make that X shape like we did at the start, insert your hook under the first one, grab the second one, and twist it, but then let go and pull. That might take some practice. I didn't really want to pull it that tight. Let me do that again. We don't want to pull it as tight. So I can just pull it, tighten it a little bit, because we're going to use that now. So I'm going to pull that through, and then I'm going to chain one. At that point I can tighten up that slip knot. So now I can chain as many as I want. I'm going to chain 3. So after I've chained 3, I'm going to put a treble crochet in each of the 2 available stitches. So to do this, I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to insert my hook into just the back loop of that next available stitch, yarn over, pull through, should have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through just 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to do this again for that last remaining stitch. And that gives me this nice little wing shape. Now, again from front to back, I'm going to insert my hook into the bee, and I'm going to make a slip stitch, like so. Now I can cut my yarn. The tail doesn't need to be very long. I've cut my yarn, and then I'm going to pull this through, like so. We're going to sort out these ends in a minute, but this is what your wing should look like. And again, that hole will sort of close up as you go. So I'm going to tidy this up in a second. I am just going to pull that tail to the back so that I can tie a knot in a second, and that's my first wing. You can flatten it down, perk it up, however you'd like. Now I'm going to do the same, but for the next side. So I inserted my hook from the middle out. I'm going to do the same, turn it towards me, insert my hook, grab my yarn. I'm going to make another slip knot, a very loose slip knot, like so. I'm going to chain 1 to join it, pull that knot tight, and then I'm going to chain 3 in the first available stitch, which is this one here. I can't use this one, it's too close. I'm going to put a treble crochet, so it's yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. So we're doing yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then 1 more in that next available stitch. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to slip stitch it to close. I'm going to cut my yarn and pull that tail through. So there we go, I have my 2 wings. I'm going to tidy these up now, of course, so I'm going to do the same thing as what I did before. I'm going to pull this yarn tail to the back. And then for security, I'm going to tie a knot using the tails from the wings. So I'm just going to tie a knot like so. We're going to hide that in a second. And then for the other side, I'm going to do the same. Okay, now I'm going to hide these yarn tails. So I'm going to cut them quite short, and then I'm going to just use my crochet hook to pull that knot through. You can also use your darning needle for this if you would prefer, but I tend to use it as little as possible. So I'm just going to hide those ends like so. Can be a little bit tricky once you've got the stuffing in, but if you need to, you can just stab them through and that will also work. And there we go. So at this point, either your bee will be finished or you'll be adding your keyring. Now I'm going to add my keyring. So I'm going to grab my hardware. I'm going to take my yarn tail. I'm going to just insert it through. I'm going to pull it up where I want my keyring to go. So I want my keyring to sit in the middle here. So I'm going to put it just before the wings there. Make sure to keep it nice and round. Take your keyring. You're going to put your needle through this bottom one. Oopsies. Put your keyring through this bottom one here. Pull it through. And now you can insert your hook, insert your needle wherever you want that keyring to be affixed. So I'm going to affix it like this in the middle. And remember, this is why we're inserting the wings on the yellow side, on the yellow row, so that I can attach the keyring using the yellow yarn. I'm going to go through this keyring loop a couple of times just to make sure that it's really secure. I'm going to put it through, and then I'm also going to sew it through the body of the bee. You can attach the keyring with pliers. If you're confident with working with the metal, you can attach it with pliers and just insert it in the place that you want. But I find that it can pull up a loop, can pull up the stitch that you've attached it to over time. So if we keep it like this, it's nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. And then at this point here, I'm going to hide this yarn tail. So I'm going to just put it towards the bottom somewhere where I can weave it in. And now I'm going to sort of weave it back and forth through a couple of the stitches. This is just going to keep it nice and secure so that it doesn't come out. Again, there are 100 different ways that you can hide this yarn tail, whichever you prefer. I'm just going to go with that. And then you can cut it, pull it a little bit, cut it, and then fluff the body out. Get rid of any of the loose bits, and there you have your bee keyring. And again, you can do this in any colour you like. Traditional bee colours would be this, a yellow or a mustard yellow and then black. But I like to do lavender bees and blue bees and all sorts of different colours. And there we go, there is our mini bee keyring. Thank you for watching.